Hi there. Welcome to the Right Here, Right Now live show. This show has one simple question. What's on your heart and mind right here, right now in this moment? We explore the depths and breadths of our humanity through that one simple question over the course of 30 to 45 minutes. I hope that you'll join us. I hope you'll enjoy the exploration. And this tune was created for me personally by the incredible Peter Griffiths, one half of the amazing Mind Takeaway. Do let us know what you think. Let us know what you take away. And of course, we always welcome challenges too. Hope to see you on the exploration. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Right Here, Right Now show with this amazing human, Lucy Bramley. Hello, Lucy. How are you?
Hello, Gary. Thanks for making space for me today.
Oh, anytime for you. So, before we get into what's on your heart and mind today, Lucy, do let our viewers who may be joining us live or may watch us back just a little bit more about you. You know, who is Lucy and what you're up to at the moment?
Okay. So nice to meet you, everybody. At the current time, I'm just over half a century old, which sounds better than nearly 52. And I live in the New Forest. And I've recently quit my job in tech. I worked in tech for almost a quarter of a century. So 23 years in big tech, long time at IBM, and then a few years at Microsoft. And I decided that I wanted to do my own thing. It's not the first time I've done my own thing. Before I was in tech, I had my own business making hats out of old curtains, which I started up just after I graduated because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I think that's probably never changed. So, you know, I had this massive long interlude in technology, but I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I gravitated towards coaching. Been through coach training, built up a lot of coaching hours, got lots of coaching practice in as a manager in the tech sector, and decided, right, I'm going to get out of tech. I'm going to start my own coaching business. And that was, as I say, 7 weeks ago. And then since then, I guess I've been thinking, so what am I going to do? And, you know, what do I really, really want to do to sound like a Spice Girl? And so that's where I am. And it's great to have the opportunity to talk about what's on my mind today. So thank you for giving me the space to do that, because it will be a little bit of what do I want to do with my business? What am I concerned about in life? What do we spend time talking about? Because we talk quite a lot, don't we, me and you?
We do.
Through the week. So yeah, really looking forward to the next few minutes.
Lovely. Well, thanks for joining us, Lucy. I just want to say hi to Elise. It's always very lovely when you come and join us. Thanks. You have a lovely Monday and week ahead too, Elise, and hello to Lucy as
Hello,
well.
Elise.
Thanks for joining us. So let's get into the question then. So what is on your heart and mind right here, right now, in this moment, Lucy?
Well, it's a great question. It's a big question, isn't it? And I think at the moment it's what am I all about? And I guess at this pivotal point, almost feel like a teenager again, you know, thinking, you know, what options am I going to take? What college do I want to go to, or do I want to go straight into work? You know, I love it that, you know, you can do that at any point in your life. And so that's where I am. You know, what do I want my life to be all about? And it's really interesting. I've been taking the last few weeks to look back at what I've done and to look forward at what I want to do, rather than feeling like I'm on we've talked about train tracks before, haven't we? You know, like I'm on this route, you know, it's going in this direction. I can't really deviate off it. So it's really good to sort of think I'm having a pit stop, you know, I'm sort of sitting there in the station buffet, figuring out where I want to go to next on the journey. And there's lots of different bits to it. I think when I was still working at Microsoft, a lot of my time was taken up by Microsoft stuff. And, you know, anybody can associate with this. I know you can, Gary, where you work in a sort of big chemical company. Every day you've got to be interested in what are the priorities of the company, what are the targets for the year, for the quarter, for the week. We're both in sales type organizations, you know, that's the kind of dominant ideology, isn't it? And the growth agenda. So, you know, these companies, that our economy, it's always got to grow. You know, we did well last year, so we've got to do better next year, you know, that kind of thing. And then when I checked out, i.e. like properly when I left, I did check out a little bit before that, but that's an admission to everybody. But, you know, when I'm not there anymore, And so all that mind space that used to be full of, Microsoft growth projections and how are my team doing and what learning do I have to complete, and or we've got an audit coming up, or there's a problem with a customer, that's all gone. So all that space now is for me. And I thought it's all going to be full of, what coaching models am I going to use? What types of coaching clients do I want to go after? How do I follow up with people that I've worked with in the past? How do I develop, new things that I want to take to market? And what's really shocked me is that I've thought about that part of the time, but most of the time what I've been thinking about is the future of the planet and the climate crisis, and the fact that, to me, this is really the only thing that matters. And what we've got to do as a community is focus on everybody doing our bit to try and basically stay alive. It's that simple. When you look around at the extreme weather conditions that we're having, at the problems that are driving people out of their countries, and they're kind of coming over here, people are losing their land to water and desert ingress. This is climate change happening right now, and it's only going to get worse unless we do something, pretty urgently. So I was quite surprised. I knew I wanted to focus on sustainability with coaching and how can I marry those two things together. But actually stepping back from coaching and thinking, hang on a minute, there's other things I need to do. That's the big question that's on my mind every day. And so I've been wrestling with that. I've been thinking, what does it mean? It wasn't easy to link these things together and to think, well, I'll just go out and coach people about the climate, because not everybody wants to know. It's not everybody's big problem on their mind. A lot of people it is, or when you dig around, you find that there is anxiety about this, but other people are worried about other things. Absolutely, totally get that. Like, where's the money coming from? How are my kids doing? Because of COVID, and they've not been they've not been out with their friends and stuff like that. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Everybody's got their own questions that they're asking. So thinking about how I was going to make that my work, it's been a challenge, and I haven't figured it out, quite frankly. But I think the longer I haven't figured it out, the more free I feel about that. I think when you work for a big organization, that there tends to be a kind of, this is what we're doing this year, and it's almost a cop-out. It's like you don't have to worry about anything else because we've got these aims that we're going to achieve. Whereas, when it's open-ended and frankly a bit scary, it's almost like it gives you more of a challenge, more to go after. And I guess the big thing that I've decided, I'll let you get a word in edgeways in a minute, is that for me, what's most important is doing things locally. Because I think in the world, particularly in the Western world, in the Northern Hemisphere, our kind of industrial capitalist economy, it's all about individualism. It's all about your little family unit. It's all about consumption. We sit indoors and watch the telly, and we don't sometimes know our neighbours. I used to live in a block of flats. I didn't know my neighbours, and literally they were over the side of the party wall. Now I live in a village, and I know some of my neighbours. But what I'm trying to do is do things in the village. I'm looking at, how can we grow our own food? How can we have some kind of community supported agriculture scheme in the village? And people can get involved, either getting their hands in the dirt, they can give a piece of land, maybe they want to give money, maybe they just want to, know that their heart is with us, if they're not sort of interested, or maybe don't have the physical capability to do that. It's things like that I'm thinking about. And there's so many of these things that can help the climate emergency, and that can help us as human beings to be happier and to come together and to, exercise our brains and our bodies in service of one another and the world. So that's what I'm thinking. What can I do right here, right now, literally? And you've given me a gift.
I love it.
With the same name.
Do you know something though, Lucy? I think it's stunning, right? So why it's so stunning is, one, what an incredible weaving of so many seemingly disparate topics, right? If you look online, or you follow your favorite influencer, or you follow your favorite newspaper, you don't get that diversity, right? And what I see in what you're offering and what you're trying to become through your work is this embodiment of, we can be part of a global ecosystem, but in a conscious way, whilst living off the land and locally together. It doesn't mean being isolated from the rest of the world. It means learning from one another, but not having to ship stuff halfway around the world just because we feel like having a new upgrade on mobile phone is going to make us feel better somehow.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I just love how you're weaving so many different strands. And I would invite you, like at some point, to watch this back, because I like that clarity you're seeking. I just saw it in you. Like you just literally just went boom. Like you, I don't know, Elise, if you're still with us, I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you took away from what Lucy just shared, because for me, it's crystal clear. So I'm curious what the internal knowing gap might be, because what you just expressed was powerful, Lucy.
Yeah, well, you know what, I've cheated. So I wrote all this stuff down earlier because, I mean, you know, Gary knows, Elise, and anybody else that might be watching. I've really been wrestling with what's going to make me happy, what's going to make me fulfilled, what the future holds, and it's almost like I've been chucking things out. No, it's not that. It's not that. Maybe it's this, you know, and getting frustrated, excited, you know, all these different sensations that you go through. So this morning I thought, what Gary and I are going to talk about, and you know, let me get a few ideas down on paper. So there was a lot of that in there, and it did give me clarity. But also at the weekend, I was helping on Ride the Wave, which was the coach training course that I went through to get my coaching accreditation. And they run courses completely online, and they ask people who've been through the course before and got their coach accreditation to go and help with the triads, which is where 3 people do 3 coaching sessions and each play a role. So they get to coach, they get to be coached, they get to be the reflective observer. So I was doing that on Saturday, and it was just wonderful how the coaching session went for me when I was being coached, because I said I don't know what my company is going to be about. And one of the coaching themes that you'll learn in lots of coaching courses is about the board of directors, which is in here. You know, so which directors do you have? You have a CFO, a CEO, you know, you might have a head of marketing. You know, it depends who you are as to who your sub personalities are. And I got thinking about that, and I thought, you know what, I left work and it's like I've gone on holiday, and now the board of directors don't know what's going on. They don't know what they're doing every day. So yeah, I've got a board meeting with myself after this, Gary. I've booked
I love that.
I've booked the boardroom, which is also this shed that I'm standing in, and we're going to all talk about what we want. You know, me and the others in abundant thinking. So yeah, I do feel like
That's
a lot of things have
amazing.
come together.
I love that so much.
Elise, or anyone else that's there. Yeah, you know, what are you hearing?
It's lovely. Elise just shared she loves the way that you express and the passion you show. So, and I think that's a lovely word, Elise, express, because I think that's something that I definitely struggle with in years gone by, is that allowing ourselves to feel as well as think. And I love the word that Elise used there. You can see you expressing your passion. I think that's a beautiful word. I don't know if that does that resonate.
It is. It's lovely. That was a lovely sentence. Thank you for sharing it. And it makes me appreciative of what I've got in my company. You know, this is the ethos and the culture that I want my company to have. And obviously I'm in charge of doing that because there's only me anyway. There isn't anyone else in it. You know, like Gary's an associate, like a non-executive director, because I drag him into my conversations with myself on a fairly regular basis. But yeah, there's no one else. And one of the things that, you know, you really hit the nail on the head, Elise, when I was at Microsoft, and I don't mind saying this out loud, I didn't feel like I could express myself openly. I felt like I was going to get criticized, gaslit, you know, when I stated what I thought and what I wanted, if it didn't fit with whatever the dominant discussion was at the time, which tended to just be about how much more of this cloud stuff can we sell, and you know, and kind of fitting into the shape of the company. And it wasn't entirely clear to me what that shape was, but it didn't feel like it was me shaped. And I think a lot of companies nowadays say that they want to be welcoming to everybody, but that means they've got to make a big space for people to inhabit. It can't be this shape if you're this shape. You know, they got to give you room to be yourself. And honestly, I didn't feel like that existed there, and that affected me every day. I was miserable at work, which is a terrible thing to admit, isn't it?
But it's not. It's so common, right? Like this show exists to create the platform for us to have this exact conversation, Lucy, right? And I so appreciate you bringing this, because what I'm weaving together through what you've shared so far, you shared earlier on so powerfully for me. There's an excitement. There's a freedom in navigating the unknown, right? Don't get me wrong. We both come from positions of privilege. We know that in the Western world. However, the principle is still the same. The more that we can get used to navigating, taking the next step without needing it to be assured, guaranteed, completely laid out, the more we do that, the more fun it gets. We've got no idea where we're going, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I just think there's a beautiful weaving. If you think about what you just shared with the company, how do we force you into that tiny little box of humanity that is yours on the org sheet versus stepping into, hey, guess what? There's a role to be done here. But guess what? We've got infinite energy and infinite time to get it done. I trust you, Lucy. Like, that's what you've got to do. Now just go and do it. And I'm going to get completely out of your way.
Yeah, you'd want to work there, wouldn't you? That company.
That's where I want to work. I want to work with you at Abundant Thinking, because that is the abundance though, right? Like there is infinite time and energy. It's infinite if we allow ourselves to actually access that. As soon as we narrow ourselves into fear, pay bread on table, shit, now I've got to do this job. Like we just get narrower and narrower and narrower and scarce, the opposite of abundant. And I'm just wondering how's that energy fueling you at the moment as Lucy? Like, I feel like you're embodying more and more what abundance means. And I'm wondering if that resonates with you or not.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I think it is, like you say, it's about not closing yourself down. It's about not going down these dead end streets where, you know, there's only going to be like one parking space. You know, it's about going to the kind of, you know, this massive great big car park and then choosing where you want to sit and do your thinking, working, whatever it is you're going to do. And I something that I've got quite into lately was I learned it on a coaching course with Shirzad Shamin, who does positive intelligence saboteurs. I don't know if you've seen it or if anybody that listening has seen it. It's really good, and it's a free assessment, the saboteurs thing. This is all about the inner critic, by the way. But one of the things he talks about is give yourself a period of time, and it can be how long you like, 5 minutes, 5 hours, whatever. And just let yourself get all these ideas out about whatever topic it is that you want. So I'm going to do that in the board meeting. Like, you know, what could this business be about? What could we spend our time doing? Let it all out. Don't stop yourself at 5 and don't say, oh, but we tried that and we didn't like it, or that won't work because so-and-so's already doing it. Just, you know, let all these things out and then see where you go with it. And I think that exercise works in all kinds of you know, even deciding what you want for your tea. You know, it's this give yourself the space for abundance. It's enormously fulfilling. It's energizing. You feel really excited when you give yourself all these possibilities.
My whole head's just firing up. Honestly, I'm just grinning. So I'm like, I want to go and have that board meeting with myself now, because one of my biggest challenges, definitely, you know, as you know, I work in corporate. I'm also trying to help with human-centered design on the outside of that as well, together. And it's really interesting because I find sometimes that whole, although I'm Mr. Abundant, Mr. Vulnerable, it's very innocent. You can get very innocently stuck in. There needs to be more shape to this, you know. So I'm talking on the one hand about espousing the value of vulnerability in the unknown, but it's really easy as well to get stuck in. Oh, I don't know if I want to download all of that stuff, Lucy, because I'm quite attached to that belief that I'm right. Do you know what I mean? So letting go of those beliefs that hold you back is quite important.
Well, you've got to be conscious of your ego, haven't you? You know, so is this your ego defending itself? Because actually, if it opens up to the possibility that there might be other ways to do something, then it's helping itself, not attacking itself. And if there's other people saying this to you at work, you know, is there a way of asking people questions to get them to open up when they say, I don't want to talk about that, I want to talk about this. Okay, you know, what is it about that you want to talk about? You know, or you know, how could we make it a more interesting conversation to talk about this? You know, it's like asking open questions, isn't it? Not letting people close you down, and then seeing where it goes.
I love it. Oh, Lucy's on fire. I can't believe. Oh my God. Hello, Hannah. I've not seen you in a while. You've got a lovely message here.
Hello, Hannah.
Hello, Hannah. So sounds great. This 3 thinking is so difficult, but see young people unfortunately lacking that ability and encouragement. I love that point for abundant thinking. So maybe as adults we struggle with this. Or I know you do a lot of work in education as well as Hannah does, Lucy. Do you see that still being a challenge, the sort of suppression almost of encouragement to think big and think free?
Yeah. I worry that some of it is about a lack of time. So we've got 8 hours in the day when we're doing our work. And so we might think, well, I've only got so much time to do this, and therefore we have to focus on these small things. And Hannah comes from a place. I've done some of the Dash work, which is Dorset in Southants, employability workshops that Hannah and the team have put together at Young Enterprise. And what I love about it, and I learned such a lot through doing it as well, is it's all about getting young people to think bigger. So one of the exercises is, what's your dream life? And there's no kind of reining that in. They've got to think about what they want in their life, where they want to live, what they want to spend their time doing, and then they rewind to, okay, how do I get there? And some real practical things like budgeting and stuff. So it's that's lifelong learning. We could all do with a bit of that sort of workshopping in our daily lives, couldn't we? Sorry, did I answer the question you asked me?
I've got no idea. I'm pretty sure you did. This is hashtag emergence, right? This is, to be honest with you, I was really curious. See, what I love as well about how you're showing up, Lucy, honestly, is that you're, as much as you're just sharing your insight and what you want to be doing more of and the difference you want to see in the world, it's super practical, right? So actually download all of that stuff about, what do you want your life to look like? Write down what your dream life looks like. These are all things any one of us can do at any time, which is really practical to get what we're thinking about out and through our mouth onto a piece of paper. So I'm feeling really inspired by this conversation myself. Like, I can't remember the last time.
I wish I'd got involved with Young Enterprise when I was a teenager. They did something at the school I was at in the sixth form, and I was narrow-minded. I was lazy. My world revolved around boys and booze for far too many years, and it probably started off when I was about 15. So I didn't get involved in Young Enterprise, and I missed out on such a lot, from not doing that. So we've got to be open-minded. We've got to look at all these opportunities to meet people, opportunities to think big, to think different, and not just close down these different avenues that come into our lives at different times. And I think showing energy and excitement is a big way of doing that. And I want to pick up on something that you mentioned earlier about privilege, because I'm really aware of it. I'm not really doing much work at the moment because I made a decision to save up. While I was still in tech on, frankly, quite a big salary, I put a lot of money away so that I didn't have to worry about how much money I needed when I left there. But I also did quite a lot of work on understanding where my money goes. And I did this about a year ago. Me and my husband Dom, we did a big budget. It's like, where have we spent our money? What sort of things do we need? What emergencies tend to crop up? And I think what amazed both of us was we don't actually need a lot of money. And this is a conversation that I don't know. A lot of people that I've worked with in tech, they don't have this conversation with themselves. They just think all the time, I need more, and they don't think, well, why? What's it funding? What's it paying for? And I guess now I'm not working, and now I'm thinking, about these big problems with the environment. A lot of that kind of local stuff that I mentioned, it's low cost. Growing our own food, it's a time investment. It takes a lot of time, but it doesn't take a lot of money. If you've got some dirt and some seeds, because basically that it's the time investment that you need to put in. And so I would say to people, really, really think about where your energy goes. I love gardening. One of the things I wrote down this morning was epigenetics. I think there must be something in my genetic makeup from many years back of people working on the land, because I'm from Lancastrian peasant stock originally. So my mum did quite a bit of genealogy, and we were all from Preston, and we all worked on the land until it got to the point where people then weren't working in cotton mills and on the railway. So really, really kind of interesting, looking at the history of it. But I think all that stuff's in there. When I'm doing gardening, when I'm digging, I feel happy, and I do wonder, is that because it's been laid down over years, and as humans, I don't know how much we think about that, what was laid down in previous generations that I can utilize now that will drive me.
Well, I'll tell you what I can put a massive respect from me personally to you, because my wife and I, Jackie, have been chatting about growing our own stuff. It's always been one of those things that I've had the occasional pop up with, Lucy, but I've never, and I love your word investment. I want to hold space for that a second, because we're in a world where we're so infatuated with cost. How much time is it going to cost me? How much is this product going to cost me? It's completely the wrong mindset for me. That's a scarcity mindset. I don't have enough. Where do I allocate it? Whereas what you're pointing to is we've got infinite abundant energy, and how do we want to invest that energy? And I think language is so bloody important. And why I'm wanting to share that is Jack and I, like, we're looking at moving home soon. And one of the places we're looking at has literally got ready-made beds running all the way around this beautiful property. And we cannot wait to get going. And you've inspired me so much, Lucy, by the pictures you're sharing of these homegrown tomatoes, because that feels like an investment worth making. I don't want to invest in 2 hours each way on a train anymore. I don't want to invest on a long-haul flight somewhere in the rest of the world to feed my ego. Like, I'm not dissing anybody that wants to do that stuff. I'm just saying, for me now, at my level of consciousness and with people like you in my world, it is the simple things. It's the local things. It's the things close to you that, I don't know, they just seem to feel richer and richer in, like, from a humanity point of view and from a connection point of view. It's really fascinating.
It goes also with being, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the M word, being mindful about your food. I don't know about you, but I used to just like scoff and not even notice what I was eating. You know, I'd be out and about with work, which was a lot of driving to Reading, which was an hour and a half for me, or getting the train to London, which would take door to door pretty much a 6-hour chunk out of the day there and back. So, you know, there wasn't a lot of time to think about food, like before, during, or after all of that travel. It was just, you know, gone, just eat whatever, generally not great stuff. Whereas when you grow your own food, I don't know if maybe it's just something psychological that you think, wow, these tomatoes do taste better than the ones that you get at the supermarket. But I've really felt that. Last night I had pumpkin. I've got 8.5 kilos of pumpkin that I've grown in the garden. And honestly, it doesn't take a lot of faff, right? You know, I had pretty good dirt. I had a lot of homemade compost from, you know, just like vegetable and fruit peelings and old plants that had died, you know, put in the compost bin. So bit of commercially bought compost, bit of dirt, bit of this homegrown stuff. And then, you know, you just put the pumpkin seeds in, leave it. I don't know when I planted them, May, June. And then I cut them off the plants. All the plants have died anyway, because we had a family weigh-in. We had a pumpkin growing competition with my father-in-law. And yeah, anyway, this pumpkin's amazing. It tastes great. It's full of nutrients, vitamins, minerals. You can eat it with everything. I put something on Instagram last night saying, send me some recipes, everybody, because I've got so much of this pumpkin, you know, that I really want to make the best of it. I don't just want to cut a scary face in it and put it outside the front door. So yeah, I think growing is a brilliant opportunity, but as you said, it's an investment. You've got to put the time aside to do a certain amount of work, planning, getting the seeds sorted, doing some watering. But if you can weave that into your day, you know, wander around the garden doing the watering, it's quite relaxing. It takes you away from, you know, being in front of your laptop or being in the car or, you know, whatever it is that you need to do, and it takes you into that external world, you know, which we need to value and spend more time in.
I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat. I'm just sitting here laughing at this polarity. You have to hold things like it's an and, not or, right? But where I'm going with this, Lucy, is like my day job's in the chemical industry, extracting stuff out of the ground and shipping it halfway around the world. And I'm in dialogue with amazing humans like you, growing your own vegetables in the garden. And it's like, wouldn't it be fascinating if we prioritized that intentional desire to connect locally? As much as we focus on trying to double our business year on year by 12 or 15%, like we could flip that mindset now. Like it's not fixed. Like there's nothing that stops any senior leader, any one of us flipping our mindset. Nothing apart from a story. Like we're one story away from everything shifting. I just find that really powerful, but really quite interesting.
It's interesting. It is interesting, isn't it? Because it's almost like everybody's got on the kind of bandwagon of growth. And this is how a lot of businesses run. You know, we've got to focus on growth. We've got to focus on the numbers, on the targets. And then we've got to be reporting on it, you know, ad nauseum. And so you've got to be part of that dialogue. If you're slightly outside it, you run the risk of being called a poor performer and maybe, you know, getting kicked out. So you've got to buy into it a certain amount. But, you know, the question that I want to ask anyone who's listening is, how long is this going to go on? Because actually this aggressive growth economy is part of how we got into this awful situation we're in now with the climate crisis. What we really need to be having discussions about are concepts like degrowth. where we stop buying so much stuff. We're reusing, we're recycling, we're reducing our dependence. But then we need to change how the whole economy works, because it's all predicated on buying things at the moment, whether they're services or products.
So brilliant. And what I've already got this vision of with you and your community supported agriculture, we move from having to buy stuff to exchanging stuff. It's almost like going back many generations towards bartering and community-based shares. We don't need to keep making and manufacturing a load of non-essential stuff. It's actually, how do we share? And that's community, right? Is sharing. That's how you build communities, through sharing, not through individualization.
Yeah, it will rock people's world though, because if you think about what success looks like today, I don't know about for you, I guess, and this is personal, but for me, it was all about having your own home, trying to get rid of your mortgage as quickly as possible, having a decent car, and I'm guilty of having a fairly new car, which I didn't need to get because there was nothing wrong with my old car. So it's all this kind of having the latest stuff, having the best stuff. And then when you do have a house, what you're thinking about all the time is it appreciating in value? Why does it matter? You're living in it, if you're always thinking about flipping it, and getting something else, then I kind of understand that. But it seems like a sad existence. And if we are talking about degrowth, then, houses need to be reasonably priced. Or, maybe we have to get off the mortgage treadmill, and say that, renting is going to be a lot more socially acceptable than it is in the UK. It's not a big market here, is it? No, it is in other countries. But we've got to put value on different things. As you say, we've got to swap things. And we've got to not be so obsessed about acquiring more staff and having more money. But then we need a security net. So, things like universal basic income, where does that come from?
Round two. We're doing this again. I can't believe that's 32 minutes.
Wow. Yeah. It goes quick, doesn't it?
This is what happens, everyone, with flow state. This is what happens when you invest your energy in something without there needing to be an outcome. Sorry. You and I had zero desired outcome from this exploration, except just to share and hopefully offer some value to those that join us. This is abundance role model, Lucy, and I love what you're doing. So I just want to acknowledge Hannah. I want to acknowledge Elise, anybody else that joins us live or watches this back. Please do check out Lucy Bramley on LinkedIn. Check her out at abundantthinking.co.uk. And I want to give you the last word, Lucy, a final invitation, reflection, idea, what to do as that maybe they go and have their own board meeting with themselves or something else.
Well, I would say thank you for this experience, Gary, because what you've done today is you've listened to me, you've asked really open questions, and you've let me talk. And I think that makes people feel good. It makes me feel good that you want to listen to me, that you want to hear what I'm saying, that you're not just waiting for a gap in the conversation when you can insert whatever it is that you think, which, is what a lot of conversations go like for people. So I feel enormously lucky and privileged to have been talking to you, and to have Elise and Hannah and whoever else listens to this in future and later. And a plea from me. So I absolutely want to sell something, and that is I want people to get on board with doing something about the environment, because it's not something that we just have to sit at home and feel worried and scared and terrified about. Yes, it's frightening, but we can all make a difference. And Gary, you shared a video with me this morning on LinkedIn, which is Professor Kevin Anderson, and maybe we can put it in the chat for this if that's a thing that we can do. And it's 2 minutes, this video, and he explains just so clearly why we have to stay under the 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature over the next few years. And it doesn't really talk about what will happen if we don't, but it'll be a terrible tipping point where we can't come back from it afterwards. Whereas all the science is telling us at the moment that we can do something about the climate emergency if we stay below 1.5 degrees rise in temperature, but we've not got very long to do it. So look at your own carbon footprint. The Worldwide Fund for Nature do a footprint tool. So if you just go and look up WWF footprint tool, find your own footprint. Mine's 9 tons. And maybe I've undercalled it when I've done that, but I don't fly anywhere anymore. I don't do a lot of driving really at the moment. So I would say to people, go and look at what your footprint's made up of, and please do something about it, you know, for the good of yourself and your children and everybody else in the world. And watch that video. We'll post a link. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Perfect.
Brilliant. No,
it's
lovely
a great
invitation.
way of arming yourself with the knowledge about why this is important. And it will be talked about at COP26, hopefully. But we are dreadfully running out of time.
Beautiful. Great share. Absolutely stunning share, Lucy. So again, reminder for everyone, it's called Why Commit to a Carbon Budget for 1.5 Degrees. I will share it in the notes, certainly on YouTube. We can do that very easily. So I'll just stop the share for now. And yeah, thanks again, Lucy. You're an absolute star. Grateful to call you a friend. And finally, if anybody gets this far, thanks for joining us all. And look out for Lucy and I, because we are co-hosts of a new live stream show called The Inside Out Show. And we're going deep into all sorts of things like this with a range of different guests. So do come and join us. So Lucy, big kisses and hugs to you. Thanks everybody for joining us again. Hannah, Elise, and anybody else. And have a great day. Take care.
Thanks for joining us.